Charles, right back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews. On behalf of Summit Kaiju and on behalf of Collect All Monsters, and today we're bringing you a great figure review. Yes, a figure set review. So without further ado, let's dive headfirst into this awesome figure set review. And today we're taking a look at the X Plus Deforeal set of the 1955 Godzilla Anguirus Ric Exclusive Technicolor Version set, based off their appearance in the second super cool Godzilla film of the franchise, Godzilla Raids Again, also known as Gigantis the Fire Monster. And as you can see, I have the beautiful figures here, as well as the box here. So you know, we do things around here. Let's get into the box before we get to the figure. And this is the box. Once again, this is the Ric Exclusive set of Godzilla and Anguirus 1955, and as you can see, you have the beautiful artwork here on the box. Deforeal set, the title of the film, Godzilla Anguirus, which means, of course, Godzilla Raids Again. Actually, you know what? The original title for this was actually called Godzilla's Counterattack, which is, you know, I kind of like that title better than Godzilla Raids Again, but still, that's what the Japanese text means, Godzilla Anguirus, which means Godzilla's Counterattack. Of course, Godzilla 1955 and Anguirus 1955, and this is the Technicolor version set. Yes. And I'm loving this box. And speaking of boxes, you know what? When it comes to the Deforeals, they normally come in the window display where you can actually see the figure. So to my knowledge, I think this is actually the first box, or at least packaging, of a Deforeal where we don't really get to see the actual figures through a window display. And I actually do enjoy the artwork, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to trash the box. I'm going to keep it. I'm certainly going to keep it here for presentation purposes. So I really do like the box. Yes. So let's go into backstory with this, with these figures. Yes. This is Godzilla and Anguirus from Godzilla Raids Again, and it's kind of appropriate that I'm doing this figure review now, because if you saw my last review of the 1954 Wonderfest Godzilla figure, you know what I'm saying, I think it's kind of appropriate that the next review should be about something involving the next film in the franchise, Godzilla Raids Again, so it's kind of appropriate that way. The backstory about these figures are this. We first got the pre-order announcement for these, I want to say in August of last year, and it just got dropped basically this week and last week. Basically the last week in January going into the first couple weeks into February, it's starting to get into collectors' hands. Now, the standard versions of these figures, they were sold separately. You know, Godzilla was sold separately, Anguirus was sold separately, and they were in that black and white paint scheme, right? But the Ric versions of those figures is this right here. They combined both for Godzilla and Anguirus in a combined set, and they gave them Technicolor colors on them, you know what I mean, to signify. There's a couple posters out there of Godzilla Raids Again, Japanese posters, where they show Godzilla in a somewhat reddish paint scheme, and they show Anguirus in a greenish paint scheme. So that's where that color comes from. That's where the paint scheme comes from. Now, when I decided to go after this set, because once again, I'm into the Deforeals, but I'm not going after every single one of them. You know what I mean? There are certain ones that I want. There are certain ones that I don't want. And when I saw this set, I was like, you know what? They do look good. You know what I mean? Even though Godzilla Raids Again is not one of my most favorite Godzilla films, the figures did look great. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going after them, I might as well go after the Ric versions. I want to thank Tyler Boots Carlson for helping me get this. I really do appreciate it. Now, mind you, this is not the first time where Godzilla and Anguirus, courtesy of X Plus figures, have seen like an alternate different paint scheme like this. I think in 2011, the 25cm versions of the Godzilla 55 and the Anguirus 55 has somewhat of a similar paint scheme, especially Anguirus, right? A green paint scheme. That version of Godzilla 25cm, it has somewhat a red color all over his body, where, as you see here, it's mostly red on like the front of his body, you know, but it's still a somewhat similar paint scheme. And in the Summer Wonder Festival in 2012, the following year, they made the 30cm set of the 1955 Godzilla and Anguirus in this somewhat same color scheme. So this color scheme here is not unprecedented. You know, it is. We've seen it a couple times before. You know what I mean? And they have gone to become a couple of the most sought after figures for as collectors is concerned. You know what I mean? So once again, it's not really much of a big backstory with this set. You know, it's just another set of kaiju to expand on the roster of the Deforeal line. Once again, I'm not going after every single one of them, you know what I mean? But those I do want, I'm really glad that I got them, you know what I mean? Between this set, Destroyer, the new MonsterVerse King Ghidorah, which will be upcoming for review real soon, the 64 Godzilla, the 62, the fourth form of Shin, GMK, 84, 98. I've got my fair share of Deforeals, and I'm not done. You know, I still have a couple more that still are coming down the pipeline, like the Godzilla 2000. I think I'm getting the Ric version of that. I'm also getting the Ric version of Orga with his mouth wide open, like he tried to swallow Godzilla. And this past Wonderfest, they showcased some more Deforeals that are coming down. I'm most definitely getting, like the Godzilla 1974. I'm definitely getting that, as well as the King Caesar. More likely going Ric on that one. So once again, the Deforeal line is really a cool line. It really is. I understand that it's not going to cater to every single person, but still, it is a cool line to go after. They're small, affordable figures, you know what I mean? They pack a lot of detail that you would expect from a 30 centimeter, 25, or even a gigantic, and they pack into a small Funko Pop type figure for really half or fraction of the cost. So it's a win-win there. So, you know, do things around here. Let's get up close and personal with these figures, and I'll provide inserts as we go along here. And let's start with Godzilla. Once again, this is such a great figure of Godzilla 1955. Once again, this film, as well as the design, is not exactly the most beloved, you know, figure design and movie in the franchise, you know what I mean? I've heard this figure, or at least the design, say by many that it's probably one of the worst Godzilla designs. It has a certain charm to it, you know what I'm saying? But what they packed into the detail with this small figure of the 1955 Godzilla Deforeal is really awesome. It's just like they just shrunk a 30 centimeter figure into a Deforeal size. You know, of course, the main attraction is the head. The head sculpt is really awesome. You know what I'm saying? With the eyes and the devilish like ears that they are perked up. You know what I mean? That was kind of like a trademark of this Godzilla, really. Teeth are individually sculpted. Of course, you know, you have the red paint scheme going towards the bottom half of Godzilla's torso, down towards his feet, you know, whatever. Bone claws and the toenail claws are colored dirty bone white. I really do enjoy that. You know, the tail is curved. You know, the sculpture of this figure is nice. I like that. Let's go to the dorsal plates. The dorsal plates, they're awesome, and they are accurately detailed. The shapes, the position on Godzilla's back, it's just what you will find on a regular 30 centimeter or 25 centimeter version of the 55 Godzilla. They have done a phenomenal job, you know, with the paint job. Like I said, this is a Technicolor version, so this is natural colors, kind of like the Wonderfest 54 from the previous video. So it's kind of like the same thing going on here. And I really do enjoy that. I love the paint scheme. I love the dorsal plate arrangement. I love the red on Godzilla's body here towards the torso. I really do enjoy it. You know, it's a really cool representation of the 55 Godzilla, just a deformed one, but the detail is there. You know what I mean? Not too much to go over because, once again, these are smaller figures, but the detail speaks for itself. The sculpt, the paint job, everything speaks for itself on this Godzilla, or Gigantis, whichever you prefer, and it's a nice figure. Now let's go on to the monster that he fought in this awesome film. Let's go to Anguirus. Yes, this is Anguirus' first time appearance in a Godzilla film, and I would say probably between the two, he's probably the more detailed of the two because of his shell and his tail and all the spikes thereof on his back, you know what I mean? But they've done a phenomenal job with this Anguirus. You know, greenish paint scheme all over his body. Once again, this is not the first time they've done this with the X Plus figure of Anguirus 55. So they're kind of going on with the tradition here, but this looks really good. You would think that they would reserve the green scheme for Godzilla, but you know, it's kind of funny. You know, they're going with Anguirus once again, signifying the colored posters or the early promotional posters of the film. But once again, they've done a phenomenal job with Anguirus. The horn, as well as the back plates on the back of his head, as well as the multiple spikes on his shell, as well as his tail, are colored like a dirty yellow, I guess, dirty yellowish color. Or if you want to say bone white or dirty bone white, you can. It's sculpted really well. The teeth are individually sculpted. You know, the fangs are popping out. The redness and the gums is done really well. Of course, the eyes. That's the thing. The eyes, the eyes are really derpy looking. That's the one thing about the film, because you don't really get a good look of Godzilla's face and Anguirus as far as the suits in the film. We see more so of the puppets that would go back and forth. And honestly, the puppets look more menacing than the actual faces on the suits, which was kind of a good thing, because whenever we did see Godzilla's face or Anguirus' face, they don't come across as too menacing. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're giant, ferocious monsters and want to kill each other. You know what I mean? But when you get these figures, you know, and when you watch the movie, you can tell X Plus has done a good job of matching the actual faces on the suits on these figures right here. And as you can see, even though it's done really, really well, they're not really menacing looking when you really get down to it. But the eyes are done really, really well on both figures, you know, especially Anguirus. You know, you have Anguirus, you know, in his pose where he's going upwards, you know, but he's to charge upwards at Godzilla, which is done really, really well. You know, the scales on Godzilla, on Anguirus' body, it looks really, really good. You know, the multiple greens on all over the figure here, where you not have one shade of green. I think you have a couple, and green highlights all over the body here. Once again, this is such a solid representation, a deformed one, if you will, of Anguirus 55. Just the way they're just positioned up against each other, where Anguirus roared upwards and Godzilla's like twisting his body and turning downwards to face Anguirus. Once again, this is such a phenomenal set. And I look at these figures, whether it's the Deforeal set here, or the 25cm version, or the 30s. Now, the only ones I have besides the Deforeal of the 55 Godzilla and Anguirus is the 30cm. I don't have the 25cm set, but I look at these figures like I look at the Gigantis. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, if you're going to go for one, go for the other one. Like, Sander wouldn't look good or great without Gyra, and vice versa. I view the same thing here. Godzilla really wouldn't look right, in my opinion, without Anguirus there beside him, and vice versa. Anguirus would not look right without Godzilla there beside him. So if you go for this set, once again, you're going to be in good hands. Or if you go for the standard set, once again, the standard set is in black and white, but they're sold separately. And I'm like, if you're going to go for one, you might as well go for the other one, because for one, they're affordable, really. And once again, I just don't see one looking right without the other one. So once again, it's going to be a short, concise, like up close and personal with this review. As you can see, the detail speaks for itself between both figures. Godzilla and Anguirus are done really, really well. And this was a really surprise hit for me. I didn't really expect to really love this set as much as I have. Because when I got this set, I also got the MonsterVerse King Ghidorah along with it at the same time. And when I knew I was getting both of them at the same time, I was like, before they got here, I was thinking I was going to love King Ghidorah more, because I'm a huge King Ghidorah fan, as y'all know. But I'm actually loving this set more, especially involving a film that's not too up there with me. But that's how much the detail and craftsmanship and just awesome work that X Plus has put into these little mini figures have made me come around on this, where I prefer this set somewhat more than the MonsterVerse King Ghidorah. Now, I do love it, don't get me wrong. But between the two, I actually like this set a little bit more. So once again, if you're on the hunt for some good Godzilla 1955 and Anguirus figures, if you can't find the 30cm, if you can't find the 25, trust me, if you can get your hands on this Ric version set, or as well as the standard separate Godzilla 55 and Anguirus 55, trust me, you will be in good hands, because I highly recommend these figures, where you go for the Ric set or the standard set separately or whatever. You can't go wrong with the Deforeal Godzilla 55 and Anguirus 55 from Godzilla Raids Again. Yes. So let's go with just one size comparison, and I mentioned them earlier, so I'm going to bring them up right now. I'm going to bring up my 30cm Godzilla 55 and Anguirus 55, and let's see how they look along with their Deforeal colored counterparts. So let's go with that one and only size comparison right now. Okay, folks, here we are with the one and only size comparison, and yes, alongside the Deforeal Technicolor Version Ric Exclusive set of the 1955 Godzilla Anguirus, I have their black and white 30cm counterparts, yes, with the 30cm black and white version of Godzilla, as well as the monster he fought in this awesome film of Godzilla Raids Again, or Gigantis the Fire Monster, Anguirus. And as you can see, they look so well together. Once again, as you can look directly with this shot, you can tell that the Deforeal is basically just a shrunken, deformed versions of the bigger figures that you see behind them. Once again, the detail between that comes with the 30cm, they just packed them all inside the Deforeal set here. You know what I'm saying? And it makes for a really great image. I'm glad I got this. I'm glad I got this set, you know, of the 55 Godzilla and Anguirus, you know what I mean? Once again, I want a variety. That's the reason why I went for the Ric set. You know what I'm saying? Because I already have, like I said, the 30 with the black and white paint scheme. And even though it would have been cool to get the standard versions, you know, the black and white, it still would have been somewhat really similar to the 30 centimeters, but I wanted something different. You know what I'm saying? I wanted something different, and that's why I went for the Ric versions, you know, the colored versions, you know what I mean? And I think they've done a phenomenal job with all of them. Even the 25 centimeter versions, even though I don't have that set yet. I might track it down at some point, but until then, this will do me. This will do me right here between the 30 centimeters as well as the colored Deforeals. Yes, such awesome figures, courtesy of Vets Plus and courtesy of this super cool Godzilla film, Godzilla Raids Again, also known as Gigantis the Fire Monster. And speaking of the film, that's it with the size comparisons, one and only size comparison. I don't want to drown a figure review in size comparison. This is really the only size comparison that matters, quite frankly. And speaking of the film, let's talk about my thoughts on the fight scene between Anguirus and Godzilla from this epic film. Yes, yes, yes. Let's go with that final portion of the video right now. Okay, folks, I'm back with my final thoughts of the X Plus Deforeal set, Ric Exclusive set, or Technicolor Version set of the 1955 Godzilla and Anguirus from Godzilla Raids Again. Once again, such a great figure set. I highly recommend them. If you can find them for a great price, whether it's the Ric versions here or the standards, please go after these figures. You will not be disappointed. And as relates to Godzilla Raids Again, of course, I've talked about this film a few times on my channel before, and I still maintain the opinion. It's one of those middle-of-the-road films for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't consider it a bad film, nor a great film. It like falls in that middle gray area. You know what I mean? It's an okay / good film. I guess the best way I can describe it as, it's a good film that has great moments in it. That's a big difference with being just an overall great film. And of course, you know, a couple of reasons kind of playing into that. You know, coming off the heels of Gojira 1954, you know what I'm saying, which was a groundbreaking and powerful film. And it really set the bar really high, you know, on its first outing. Now to come in with the sequel behind it, I think the sequel happened like maybe less than a year after Godzilla 54 came out. You know what I mean? And like I said, that film set the bar so high. And, you know, to have a film coming behind it, expectations are going to be real high. So that was already an uphill battle that this film had to try and climb. On the backside of that, what film came after this film? The highly popular, probably the most popular Godzilla film in the franchise, King Kong vs. Godzilla. So I think being sandwiched between these two films, this film, unfortunately, does kind of get overlooked. You know what I mean? A lot of people tend to look at King Kong vs. Godzilla as like the first time we ever see Godzilla fight another kaiju. But it actually was this film. You know what I mean? It was this film that really started it all. So all the Godzilla films, the Gamera films, the Ultraman TV shows, or Pacific Rim, and the Monsterverse, any film or TV show or project that has a kaiju battling another kaiju really has a debt of gratitude owed to this film. It started with this film, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people tend to overlook that, you know what I mean? Because of the film somewhat being of a rushed sequel, and like I said, coming behind the awesome Gojira 1954, and then, you know, being, you know, followed by King Kong vs. Godzilla, kind of puts this film kind of like in the overlooked category, in my opinion. And it's one of those films where, you know, like I said, it's a good film that has great moments in it, but it's also one of those good films that, you know, that is a good film to come back to every now and then. It may not be as highly popular as, like, you know, King Kong vs. Godzilla, Monster Zero, or GMK, or Biollante, you know, whatever. But it's still one of those good films like Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, or Godzilla vs. Megalon, or Godzilla vs. Megaguirus. Those other films that don't get talked about that much to go back and try and watch. And the main selling point of really watching this film is really the fight scene between Godzilla and Anguirus. And that's one thing I really applaud this film for. With this being a sequel to Gojira, they did everything they could to try to separate this from the original. Because quite frankly, you can't top or at least try to copy what the original film did. Because once again, they set the bar so high. But I really do enjoy the fight scene between Anguirus and Godzilla. As a matter of fact, I love even the build-up to Godzilla and Anguirus fighting in this movie. Of course, if you watch my channel And clearly you're a fan, so I'm sure you know about the story of Godzilla Raids Again, so I won't go through A to Z involving the story. But we all know what happens in the film. Of course, Godzilla comes back. He's back along with Anguirus, and they're fighting on this island. They're discovered fighting on this island. They fall into the ocean. They get separated. Godzilla eventually makes his way towards Japan, and the Japanese military has devised a plan of dropping flares to lure him offshore, which does work, and it shows that, you know, the military people were thinking. Obviously, they couldn't really kill Godzilla and or Anguirus with their weapons, but at least they can drop flares to try to drive him away. That way we can lure him away, and then that allows us enough time to think things through. You know what I mean? So I really do applaud that. What they didn't think about is, as they are luring Godzilla away with the flares, they forgot that Anguirus is still out there. And what happens after a fire happens, or at least explodes at a nearby oil refinery, even though the flares lure Godzilla away, Godzilla somehow comes back to Japan because of that oil refinery explosion. At the same time, he makes his way towards the shore. All the while, that gives Anguirus enough time to come to where Godzilla is, at least come to where the flares are, which happens to be where Godzilla is. And that's how the second fight happens. And everything about that scene, the build-up to that scene, is done really, really well. When Anguirus comes to shore and he sees Godzilla and Godzilla sees him, they show these close-up shots, not of the suits, but the puppets. And they're like they're gritting their teeth at each other, and it's like, oh, it's you, and they just tear into each other, which leads into a great fight scene. Once again, that's what separates this film from the original Godzilla. In the original Godzilla lays waste to Tokyo because he was disturbed, you know, by the nuclear testing. This time, it's not Tokyo that gets destroyed, it's Osaka, and Osaka gets destroyed not because Godzilla and Anguirus want to tear it down. Their battle, their confrontation, their fight leads to the city being destroyed. And I love how this film, that it's not a one-sided fight, you know what I'm saying? Even though Godzilla, you know, has, you know, the special atomic breath attack, and he's more upright, so he does have somewhat of an advantage over Anguirus on paper, you would think. Kind of like a Tyrannosaurus would have over a Triceratops. But in this fight, you see actually Anguirus getting the better of Godzilla. You know what I'm saying? It really was a draw between Godzilla and Anguirus until the final act. And I really do enjoy that. I love how Anguirus, even though he knew that Godzilla had, you know, that fire breath attack, he didn't care. He went at Godzilla. And that's one thing I really do enjoy when it comes to certain kaiju. Like Anguirus, like Rodan. I like monsters that bring the fight to Godzilla, that are not intimidated by him, but they bring the fight to him. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that Anguirus has a cult following to this day. You know what I mean? It's a shame that we will not see him again until 13 years later. But, you know, we have seen shades of this Anguirus in other films before, like Deforeal Monsters, you know, where he tears into King Ghidorah, you know what I'm saying, where he fights Mecha Godzilla or the fake Godzilla, you know what I mean? Or in Final Wars, yes, I'm going to count Final Wars. But it all started with this film. But once again, the fight scene between Godzilla and Anguirus is done really, really, really well. And of course, what they do to fight each other was really, really realistic. You know, it was scratching and clawing and biting, you know, whatever. It would have been very, very unrealistic. And I know, realism in a giant monster film. But still, it would have been really unrealistic if we saw Godzilla and Anguirus doing this film what they would do in later films, you know, with drop kicks, body slams, punches, you know what I mean? All these fighting moves that we would associate with professional wrestling didn't exist in this fight. You know, you have two prehistoric creatures that want to have dominance over the other one and want to kill the other one, and they're doing everything they can to do that. You know, like I said, by scratching, clawing, just wrestling each other, biting, you know, whatever. It made for a realistic fight scene where, once again, it really all came down between who was going to outlast the other one. It wasn't a one-sided affair where Godzilla had more so the advantage over Anguirus or vice versa. You know what I mean? It just came down to the very end where Godzilla saw an opening. He gnawed at Anguirus' neck, and that led to his downfall, you know? But once again, it is such a cool fight scene. If you overlook this film, which is a shame, because once again, it's a good film to go back to. If nothing else, you owe it to yourself to go back and watch that fight scene. You know what I'm saying? That fight scene, in my opinion, led to the other fight scenes that will come behind it, you know what I'm saying, to make them really fun and very, very entertaining. You know what I mean? But once again, all that stuff doesn't happen. All that kaiju versus kaiju stuff wouldn't happen without this awesome film and this awesome fight scene right here. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it with my thoughts of this awesome fight scene, you know, whatever. It reminds me of it every time I see these figures. You know what I mean? Once again, Godzilla Raids Again, it may not be up there in the upper echelon of the most popular or fun or entertaining Godzilla films, but it's still a cool Godzilla film nonetheless to go back to every now and then, and it deserves a rewatch. You know what I'm saying? So that pretty much concludes my review of the X Plus Deforeal Ric Exclusive Technicolor Version set of the 1955 Godzilla Anguirus 1955, based off their appearance in the second super cool Godzilla film, Godzilla Raids Again, also known as Gigantis the Fire Monster. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section, or hit me on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, once again, great figures. I highly recommend them. In my opinion, if you're going to go for one set, I say try and go for the Technicolor version set. You know what I mean? If you already have the black and white versions, do something different. Spice it up in your collection. Get the color versions. You know what I mean? Or if you want to have them look exactly how they look in the film, hey, there's nothing wrong with going with the standard separate set of Anguirus and Godzilla. You know what I mean? But either way, you can't go wrong with these figures. You know what I mean? Especially coming from a film like, as I mentioned earlier, that may not be super popular, but the detail they put into these figures, you know what I'm saying, really just made me more of a fan of the film. And once again, X Plus never ceases to amaze me when they do stuff like that. Whenever there's a film that I really don't particularly care for, and they bring out a certain kaiju from that film, sometimes, more often than not, if the kaiju, at least the figure, looks really good, it'll make me go back and rewatch the film and get a newfound appreciation for it. This set has done it for me. The Megara from Space Godzilla has done it for me. You know what I mean? There have been a few occasions where that's happened. And that doesn't happen without the awesomeness of X Plus craftsmanship and detail and just straight up awesome work they put into these figures. And this figure set, as well as the separate set of Godzilla Anguirus 55, is definitely no exception. And once again, I highly recommend this set as well as the standard versions. And if you can get your hands on this set or these kaiju, please do so. You will not be disappointed. Once again, lots of stuff is coming here on the channel. Once again, as I mentioned earlier, the MonsterVerse Deforeal King Ghidorah is coming up for review. I still got to do the 25cm Godzilla 2000 and Orga set, Baragon, the 25cm Rodan 56. The Sakai 84s are dropping, I believe, this week at the time of this recording. So I'll probably get that in my hand sometime next week, so expect review for that. Also, this upcoming weekend, our next episode of Collect All Monsters, February 15th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, also known as 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, is going down this weekend, where we're talking everything that happened at Wonderfest this past weekend. And if you know what happened there, trust me, it'll make for a fun show, because there's lots of stuff to talk about. You know what I mean? So between my show and Collect All Monsters, we will definitely keep you entertained for the foreseeable future. Trust me when I say that, yes. So I thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on this Figure Move review. All right? Y'all take it easy. Get this set. They're worth it. Get the set.